All right, first thing we'll have is the superintendent report.
Okay, Board, thank you for all that you do. And so this evening, I'd like to share with you some updates that have occurred since we started school. Of course, our first day of school, you can see several of the pictures up there, was very exciting and engaging for our students. We began on Wednesday, August the 18th, and welcomed our students for our transition grades, which were kinder, 6th, and 9th grade. Then on Thursday, August the 19th, we had over 27,000 students enter our schools, and campuses were ready for the 21-22 school year. Currently, as of last Friday, we had 27,985 students. So we're close to the 28,000 mark. As you remember or recall, some of you last, I want to say it was April or May, when we had our demographics, by snapshot, which is at the end of October, they had projected us at 28,400, something around that place. So we're on target. We're probably not going to meet that number, but we feel certain we'll be over 28,000 by snapshot date. We dedicated our 8th junior high, which is out in the Meridiana development, the Jackie Doucette Caffey Junior High, and it was a great day, great celebration honoring Miss Caffey, who was with us for 42 years as a teacher. Wonderful memories, delightful stories, and a few happy tears filled the junior high that day on August the 29th, 2021. The special dedication was to honor her and her family, and her as being a long-time Alvin ISD educator, and you can see some of the photos from that. And she still is very excited. I've received some personal notes from her, and I know she's going to continue to volunteer and help out at the school. Another great thing, an exciting thing happening in Alvin ISD is our STEM bus. To provide effective strategies to enhance the performance of students in STEM, while inspiring and empowering them to pursue STEM careers, Alvin Independent School District is preparing to deploy an impressive STEM mobile lab called the Alvin ISD STEM Bus. The STEM Bus will deliver innovative and cutting-edge instruction in science, technology, engineering, and math. The STEM Bus plans to roll out in October, November, and this would not be possible without the leadership of Anna Passarella, who also oversees our book bus, and the support of our Alvin ISD Education Foundation under the leadership of Sheila Olson, our executive director, and also the many generous partners that have donated to make this happen. So thank you to all of them. Our transportation department receives a grant for additions to the fleet. As you know, we had received one before and we had applied for another, but for the 2021-2022 school year, the Alvin ISD Transportation Department, under the leadership of our Executive Director, Jeff Dungan, and our Director, Greg Bingham, was awarded a $774,500 Texas TCEQ, which is the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality grant. This grant allowed the transportation fleet operations to offset the purchase of 20 new school buses, replacing older buses in the fleet. TCEQ has very strict rules when executing the grant. So special thanks goes to our former director as well, Mark Swackhammer, for his efforts in obtaining the grant, and the fleet manager, Andreas Montez, for seeing it through its completion. Great job to our transportation department. They will continue to look for funding to help support Alvin ISD students and staff. And let me just say real quick, our transportation department has been stretched thin this school year. As many of you have seen on the news, there's a shortage of bus drivers across the nation, but also just in this area. And superintendents talk about this all the time, and our transportation department has done great things to recruit and also retain many quality drivers. So kudos to them for making it happen. There's many days when they're all driving buses, even the office people who have their CDLs. So if y'all know anyone who's interested, we can get them signed up. We have our own training program. We pay them while we're training them. We pay for their CDL, and so it's a great benefit. We also have a starting rate of $18 and I believe 27 cents, or don't quote me on the cents, but somewhere around there. So it's a great opportunity, and that is with benefits as well. So recruiting for transportation. This Saturday evening, we have the Alvin ISD Education Foundation Gala, which is Light the Way to Success. It will be held at South Shore Harbor Resort. Many of you are serving and or volunteering to help, so thank you for that. We're looking forward to a great evening to raise funds for scholarships, teacher grants, scholarships for our staff. And again, that's Miss Olson and Miss Purcell who organize all of that, along with many volunteers on the foundation, which some of you assist with as well. So thank you, thank you. And then upcoming, we have the E.C. Mason Elementary dedication. Last week, Miss Rise recruited or sent out to former and retired employees of E.C. Mason, and they took a picture at the old E.C. Mason cafeteria, and many of you may have seen some of those pictures. It was a great kind of mini reunion for several of them. They even had a retired principal, Mr. James Orr, who FaceTimed in to talk to some of the employees, and he has since moved to one of the Carolinas to be near his children and grandchildren, but he was excited to see many of his former teachers. But we have our dedication on next Tuesday, September the 21st at 5:30. It's a beautiful building, and so we're excited. And if you plan to attend, we ask that you RSVP at alvinisd.net. And then finally, a little bit about our Alvin Virtual Academy. As you know, in a workshop, I think I updated you on we had always had a virtual academy planned. We started that planning back in May, our academic team. And so we had that planned, and then when we found out that it didn't come to fruition with the legislature during the regular session, we weren't able to move forward with it. We did send out a survey. We did not have a huge, interest in it at that time. It was 200 and something families, but that really wasn't the reason why we didn't do it. We still planned in case the funding did become available, which it did during this last special session. And so we had to make a few tweaks, and we have now set up the virtual academy. There are 445 of our students enrolled from kinder to 6th grade. The start date is being delayed by a couple of days because we do have training for our teachers, our virtual teachers. So since we lost Monday and Tuesday, it was to begin next Monday, so we need to use those days for training. So the start date will be next Wednesday, September the 22nd, and we're excited for our students, and that will be for the first semester, and then we will monitor and continue to see if we need to continue it into the second semester. But as of right now, it's for the first semester. And that's all.
All right, next we'll go to commendations.
I don't believe any of them are here, but I'm going to go ahead and mention who they are and what they did, and then we'll be sure to get them their medals as we see them this week. So the first one that I'd like to share with everyone is Justin Medlock. He's from Manville High School, and he was recently named to the Touchdown Club of Houston's 2021 preseason team. He received the top honor at the organization's banquet on August 11th. So he was one of only 37 total players selected from the team in the entire greater Houston area. That's a pretty big deal. He is a linebacker who has committed to play at the University of Miami next year. The preseason team members are selected based on feedback and nominations from multiple sources, including the Greater Houston Football Coaches Association. These athletes are considered the top high school players in the area, according to the Touchdown Club of Houston. So great job, Justin, if you're listening, and we'll be sure to get him his commendation. And then we have two students from Pomona Elementary last year, and I believe now they are at EC Mason Elementary, but Quang Tran and Estelle Birch, they're in the Wings program. And these two students, they're two third grade students that put their knowledge of investing to the test in the stock market game. I would love for them to invest for me because this online academic and life skills educational program boosts students' math, economics, and personal finance knowledge, while also improving their test scores and instilling essential skills for financially independent futures. Teams of 1 to 4 students begin the simulation with an imaginary investment of $100,000 to trade stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and exchange-traded funds on the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. The trading began on January 25th and ended on April 16th, with the team who had the highest portfolio value being declared the winner. So the A team, as they called themselves, ended up in the first place out of 42 elementary teams in the region with a portfolio valued of $109,728.86. They were 7th out of 315 teams in all grade levels, elementary through high school, in the Houston region. That's a pretty big accomplishment. So kudos to our two friends there, Quang and Estelle. So we will make sure they also get their commendation.
So, Ms. Rives, would it be appropriate to invite them back
Yes, we can.
next
Yes.
month, at least for the board to get to put a
Yes.
name and a face to these
Definitely.
students?
I would love to do that, and
Okay.
we will then present them at that time.
Awesome. Thank
That'll
you.
work. Thank you.
If they can attend, we understand, and then
Yeah.
you go ahead and present, but it would be nice just to invite them back.
I love that idea. That'll work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So when Ms. Rives got up, I wanted to update, as part of the superintendent update, as far as facilities during Tropical Storm Nicholas, Hurricane Nicholas, which is what it became, I want to give kudos to our Facilities, Maintenance, and Operations Department, our Police Department. They were on the job, and today Mr. Miller's team went out and checked every facility, every electrical, everything that's running, the compressors, the refrigerator, everything in the schools. They checked for leaks. We had a few minor leaks. We had some wind blowing water under the doors or within the windows areas. Our custodial staffs were on site to get schools ready for tomorrow. The majority of our schools have power. We have 2 campuses that still are without power. Mr. Miller chased down the Centerpoint people today. And the problem is with some of the lines that are down within trees and brush that they cannot get to get those restored as of 6:30 this evening. So Ms. Rives' team sent out communication to both of those campuses and parents that we will not be holding school at Walt Disney Elementary nor Stevenson Elementary tomorrow for students. I think Ms. Gray's here this evening. So those 2 schools, students will not report, but our staff will report, and Ms. Jones and Ms. Gray will be working with staff on what their assignments will be tomorrow. And so thank you for all of your patience. I know that we had a lot of questions, and Mr. Miller was in contact all day. Mr. Gesh was out at campuses. Coach Bass was out visiting play. I mean, we just had all hands on deck, but we couldn't do it without our maintenance and operations people to make sure our facilities were safe and ready to receive students tomorrow. We do know that we still have families without power. We understand that. And having lived through Harvey and Ike and Alicia and many, many hurricanes. I understand what it's like to live without electricity. It's difficult. You're not the same person after a few days, it feels like. So, but we're there tomorrow to welcome our kiddos that come with open arms and a warm meal and an education. So thank you, Mr. Miller, to you and your team.
Okay, now we are at the open forum session. And if you would like to address the board, you should have completed the public participation form and submitted it to the superintendent secretary prior to the meeting according to the policy BED local. After I call your name, please come to the podium and state your name and address and the purpose for addressing the board. Please understand that you will have 3 minutes to speak. However, the board president shall have the discretion to reduce the time limit for speakers if 10 or more speakers have signed up to no less than 1 minute based on time constraints of the business of the board. If a translator is needed, you will be given 6 minutes to speak. I ask that you also understand that the board cannot take action on your request or comment at this time. However, the president or designee may refer to the request to the superintendent. And tonight we have had 12 people signed up, so we will do 2 minutes per person. And there is a clock that will run, so you will know when you're close to your 2 minutes. The first one up will be George Merrick.
George Merrick, 209 Riverside Drive, Alvin, Texas. First, I'd like to thank the trustees for volunteering to serve this community and our children. It's a big deal, and I really respect y'all for it. I want to thank our outstanding superintendent, Nelson. You're the best. I can't remember a superintendent that has done so much for this community, and we really support you and appreciate you and your staff as well. In preparing for this, I ran a little experiment. I asked about a half a dozen people. While I don't take this lightly, I wanted to see what people's thoughts were. I said, how many people do you think died more in 2020 versus 2019? And I got some answers all over the place. 200,000, 500,000, a million. People really don't realize that it's only 2% more than the year before and about the same as a 5-year average. It's not abnormal. 99.997% of our children recover from this. It's not something that we need to be doing drastic measures. Either masks work and the vaccine work and we don't need a mandate, or they don't work and a mandate's political theater. I believe this board was elected to facilitate the education of our children, and I think you do a great job at that. However, I do not think this board is elected to make parents' health care choices. I believe you gotta leave that to the parents. If they want their kids to wear a mask, they'll wear a mask. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Lauren Hess.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Hess. I live at 2723 Maple Oak Lane, Manville, Texas. I'm a pediatric hospitalist, so I'm a physician that I care for kids at the hospital every day. And what I want to share with you guys here today in the few minutes that I have is that although most children do well with COVID, there are a significant number that end up having really long-term outcomes that I want you to be aware of. So I have seen teenagers come into my hospital with COVID who struggle to breathe, say they feel like they're drowning, and end up crashing and having to go to the ICU on BiPAP in 12 hours. I've seen a child, a school-age child, have cardiac arrest. It was a completely normal child who had a cardiac arrest in my hospital from COVID and ends up having to go to rehab. Now, if that was your child and this was a disease that we could prevent, that would be horrifying. I've also seen a teenage football player who was one of the star athletes who was crying at the day of discharge because he said, I can't go back and play football because my heart's been damaged. And I'm probably not gonna be able to get the scholarship I was hoping for. So I don't know how I'm gonna pay for college. Every child that gets COVID ends up potentially having these side effects. The other thing to consider is that 1 in 10 children can develop long COVID that leads to problems with concentration, fatigue, headaches, difficulty with completing their tasks. So what's my ask? My ask is to go back to the mitigation strategies that we had before. My concern is we're not social distancing adequately during lunch. We're not paying attention to keeping these kids safe when we can. Stronger encouragement of universal masking with weekly emails of updates of what families can do, and allow us as your healthcare providers to educate your families and your teachers. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Next, we have Heather Hack.
Good evening. My name is Heather Hawk. I'm at 13617 Violet Bay Court, Pearland, Texas. I'm here as a parent and a pediatrician to implore you to instate a universal masking mandate. In her August 27th email to the district, Superintendent Nelson said that the district is waiting to, quote, gain better clarity about the impact of the Delta variant on children, end quote. I'm here to tell you as a pediatrician and a public health specialist that we do have clarity on that. We have clarity that record numbers of children are getting COVID infections, about 250,000 children a week. We have clarity that the US has the highest child hospitalization rates right now, overwhelming children's hospitals and intensive care units. We have clarity that the Texas Medical Center, right up the street where many Alvin ISD parents work, has surpassed its highest child COVID admission rate from the entire pandemic. We have clarity that 1 in 100 children who get infected with COVID will end up in the hospital. 25% of them will require critical care, including breathing tubes and ventilators. We know that 1 in 10 will go on to develop long-haul symptoms, and we have clarity that Delta variant is several-fold more contagious than the original virus. We have clarity from neighboring and nearby Texas school districts that have had to shut down due to staff deaths or overwhelming outbreaks. We have clarity that teachers are literally dying of COVID on the job in the face of the Delta variant. Like in Tomball ISD, where 2 bus drivers died, or the Miami-Dade School District, where 13 school staff died in the course of 2 weeks. Do you want Alvin ISD to be next? With all this clarity, what more are you waiting for? Are you waiting for an Alvin ISD student, teacher, or staff member to die?
Ms. Hack, your 2 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Julian Brackett.
Thank you. My name is Julianne Brackett. I live at 2705 Bent Creek Drive in Pearland. I, too, am a pediatrician. I'm also a pediatric oncologist, and I'm a very concerned parent. I have a 10-year-old who cannot be vaccinated, so you are giving me no choice but to turn him over to you each day and hope that somehow he will be safe at school. Last year I felt safe, this year I do not. That's me speaking as a parent. As a doctor, I can say exactly the same thing, and I'm not going to waste your time to hear me say the same things that my colleagues have said. But I would urge you to look at what the American Academy of Pediatrics has shown today, which was that we have now seen a surge in pediatric COVID cases, with now 30% of all new cases in the United States are in the pediatric population. So this is a huge problem for our children. What we can do, the masking mandate. We know masks work. There is a plethora of data. I know I sent you, and my colleagues have sent you many, many papers. There is lots of evidence. The other piece of evidence of this is the masks are meant to protect others from the wearer. So this is not totally a parent freedom, because if that child has an asymptomatic COVID, which we do see a lot of, they can give it to another child. And I'm a pediatric oncologist. My patients can go back to school in their maintenance period. I can't let any of them go back now. So this is going to be a huge burden on schools because I need them now to get homeschooling because it's not safe to send an immunocompromised child in maintenance who could otherwise be in school. But without mask mandates, that's just simply not an option because I literally will be burying one of my patients from COVID this next weekend. I watched her have a cardiac arrest. Now, yes, we can all say she had underlying health conditions, but I have never seen that happen in maintenance, and that family is going to be burying their 9-year-old this weekend. So I hope that we can prevent that.
Next, we have Jasmine Sardana. Next, we have Tori L. Ridley Whitaker.
Good evening. My name is Tori Ridley Whitaker. I live at 3628 Cibolo Court, Pearland 77584. So I'll get right to it. Thank you to the clinicians. Won't repeat what you've already said. My 9-year-old fifth grader, I'm all emotional because that touched my heartstring, so bear with me. My 9-year-old fifth grader, just recently, I got the close contact email, and I went through a myriad of emotions in the office at work. Scared to death, to be candid. This is the position that we've been put in. So with my timing being so short, my ask is very clear and succinct. Implement a mask mandate. Look at the logistics of our classrooms that are not conducive to the needed safety controls so that we can keep our children safe. Thank you for rolling out the virtual academy, but as I'm sure you can understand, these children, a lot of them have been virtual for an entire school year and we're excited to get back to school, which CDC says they can do if the appropriate safety protocols are in place. Help us keep our children safe. That's all we need. And I want to implore all the parents here today, join me in the commitment to attend more school board meetings, and also join me in the commitment to vote for your school board members. Thank you.
Next, we have Katie Daggett. Okay. Next will be Tony Walton.
Good evening. My name is Tony Walton. I live at 37 Morro Bay. With the time constraint, I will stay to my script. I am a concerned parent of 2 Alvin ISD students, a 6th grader and a 3rd grader. If you've read my emails, you've heard this story, that after a year and 3 months of staying at home, including doing Alvin virtual learning, I enrolled my children in one of your Alvin ISD's approved in-person summer programs, with the understanding that my boys would be wearing their mask and others would be as well. While they were compliant, no one else wore their mask. And after 14 short days, my boys came home with COVID. So here I am, as a concerned parent, to share with you all that if everyone doesn't have their mask on, we're not protecting our community. As you can imagine, our family was in shock. We were afraid, and I was disappointed. Disappointed because our leadership from Austin to Alvin couldn't see that masks really do help curb the spread of the coronavirus. While one might think this is only 2 represented cases, well, that's wrong. Those 2 cases then turned to 4 between my household and my sister's household. Thankfully, we've all recovered. I had a breakthrough case. I've done what I needed to do and became vaccinated. But guess what? There's more that has to be done. And science proves that mask helps. I believe you as leaders of our school district have the ability to help save our community from the spread of COVID. You proved that last year when you put very quick measures into place at the start of the pandemic. Can you do many of the same things again this year? From the dashboard of sharing both the cases and the recoveries. I'm a concerned parent. I'm passionate about ending the pandemic, and I will ask you, are you as well? Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Gary Turner.
Good evening. I'm Gary Turner. Address is 3455 Doris Stinson Road in Alvin. Like everybody else, I'm here to talk about mask mandates. So first off, just wanted to give you an update from a parent's perspective on how things are working in the schools. Talking to is it Ms. Rivera, Director of Communications, I was told there are certain policies in the schools that are being implemented, and I can confirm that those are not being implemented at Alvin High School. So somebody needs to look into that because there's a breakdown in the actual internal to the school district. So I have 2 kids at Alvin High School, and pretty much every day we are getting an email back about a possible close contact. That's how bad it is between the 2 kids. Those emails are thoroughly useless. They contain no information. It would be really nice if they did, but they don't. There's not even a definition of what a possible close contact means. So that there's no information to the parents. Let's see. The argument that parents have the right to decide what their kids should be doing at school is just naive. It's a lie. We don't get to see what the kids are doing. The school district will not provide information to parents about whether kids are wearing masks. They don't have the resources to enforce a per-student policy. So if a parent wants their student to wear a mask, there is nothing the school can do about that. We just don't have that authority. The only thing we can do is vote for you guys through the ballot box. So I would ask that you have a discussion on this and it be minuted and your individual votes get recorded so that we actually have that information so the next time these positions are up for election, we have that information to know who to vote for. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Amy Dixon.
Hi, my name's Amy. I live at 1017 Hamilton Street. Good morning, everyone. I'm here today because I want solutions to the problems that my children and many others are facing. I'm a stay-at-home mother to 4 children, not because I needed to be, but because I wanted to be. You see, when I was a child, both my parents worked full-time, and I would see most of my peers' parents come for lunch, parties, and field trips, but mine never could. Of course, I understood that my parents had to work, but it did not make it hurt any less. When I became a mother, I knew that I would dedicate my life to them, and I am here today because I am their voice. My children miss me being involved in their school, which is shown by their behavior and grades. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not bad kids, but this is the first time I have had any reports of my children not paying attention and struggling because they have nothing to look forward to anymore. My children used to love school, but now they feel so isolated. My children are getting bullied in the cafeteria at breakfast because there's not enough supervision due to the banning of volunteers. 2 weeks ago, my first grader was pushed down by a 5th grader and then was laughed at. Before then, my 2nd grader was being tormented by another older student, wherein my 3rd grader had to step in. This is not okay. The schools need to be opened up so more parents can volunteer and eliminate the amount of bullying that has taken place. I am a psychology major, and I know that children need support in order to succeed, and they are not getting that while they are in school. My best friend who lives in Conroe goes to her children's school for open houses, lunches, field trips, parties. My niece got to have grandparents day at her school last week, something my kids used to look forward to. This is the type of leadership this town should be following, not the fear-mongering media or the CDC that changes their mind every other day. What is this school district allowing a virus with a 99.75% survival rate destroy our children's self-esteem in childhood? It is common sense that if I have COVID, so do my children, who, by the way, is in the building I am being forbidden to go into. A public school should not be operating in a private capacity, but that is exactly what is happening here. And I should know my children's teachers and have a relationship with them, but I do not, and I cannot. Is this really what everyone wants our children to remember? They are only this age once. What you take from them now,
Sticks
you
in
can
your
never
time
get back.
your time is expired.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Leila Hoffman.
My name is Leila Hoffman. I live in 1189 County Road 634 in Alvin, Texas. Good evening, and thank you for giving me this opportunity and to allow my voice to be heard on behalf of my son and my family. I'm a mother of 6 children, 5 of which have graduated from Alvin High School, and 1 will graduate this year. I come today to implore you to stand by our God-given rights, and the right is to give us the Bill of Rights, freedom. As a nurse, I go into the efficacy of vaccines and masks, although today I'm going to talk about freedom. I'm going to plead for you to allow the oath that you took when you pledged to the citizens of the Alvin District that you would abide by that oath. Governor Abbott has enacted an executive order which prohibits the mandating of masks and vaccines upon its staff and its students. Please follow and stay true to your oath. Don't make up mandates out of fear or coercion. Freedom to make the best choice in what is right for myself and as a mother, for what is right for the students is what makes us Americans. If we give up that right, we are no longer free, and we are enslaved to the mandates of a tyrannical dictatorship. It starts here in our own small town of Alvin, Texas. It starts with my son and your son or daughters. We have to stand for freedom above all else. It is fitting that we are at Freedom Field tonight. When I thought about coming today to speak on behalf of my youngest son, I could speak on so many other things, which with I am passionate. I could speak on the fact that an innocent life was used in the testing of vaccines, and even the cell line of an innocent baby was actually used in the jab itself, which is horrific. However, I choose to speak on freedom, because without that, we have nothing. History repeats itself. And therefore, we must take a stand for freedom, just like those who came before us. Thank you.
And that concludes the open forum session. Next, we'll go into the consent agenda item. Do we have a motion to approve consent agenda items A through M?
So moved.
By trustee Harris. Do we have a second? By trustee Scott. Any comments or questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have request to consider approval of the 2021-2022 Alvin ISD tax rate.
So board, a resolution is included for the board's consideration to adopt our 2021-2022 Alvin ISD tax rate. If you recall, back when we passed the bond in 2018, we vowed at that time to our community, and the committee that worked on that, our CAC, said that our tax rate at the time was $1.45, $1.45, and that with the bond, we would not increase taxpayers' tax rate, which we held to. And actually, this year, we're recommending that we keep the tax rate that we had last year, which is maintenance and operations at 0.9696, and interest and sinking, or it's referred to INS, is at .4281 for a total tax rate of $1.3977. So that's well below the $0.45 in 2018 with the bond. The recommended total tax rate of $0.3977 is both for maintenance and operation as well as interest and sinking. It's equal to the 2019, 2020, and the 2020-2021 Alvin ISD total tax rate of $1.3977. The proposed motion is defined by language established in the Texas Property Tax Code, Section 26.05B.
Do we have a motion that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.3977, which is effectively a 1.90% increase in the tax rate? By trustee Scheibel. Do we have a second? Second. By trustee Winterstrom. Any questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have request to consider approval of the GMP for Harvey Junior High expansion and renovation, Phase 2B.
So Board, on August the 26th, 2021, representatives from Alvin ISD Building Programs and GPD Architects and Gamma Construction received competitive proposals from subcontractors and vendors for Phase 2B of this project, which includes all remaining construction costs and associated fees. After review and evaluation of these proposals, Gamma Construction has submitted a guaranteed maximum price, which we refer to as the GMP, amount of not to exceed $30,410,000 for review and acceptance by the Alvin ISD staff and Board of Trustees. Board, this is within the budget that was in the 2018 bond.
Do we have a motion to approve a GMP amount not to exceed $30,410,000 for Harvey Junior High School expansion and renovation, Phase 2B, and authorize the superintendent or her designee to review and execute the final negotiated amendment to the construction manager at risk contract with Gamma Construction?
So moved.
By trustee Tonini. Do we have a second? By trustee Harris. Any questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have request to consider COVID leave days.
So Board, each year the district provides each employee with 5 local leave days, and the state provides 5 days as well for a total of 10 days. The resolution this evening requests a consideration for an additional 4 days for COVID positive employees to be used along with their leave bank for the 21-22 school year. Therefore, district administration seeks the approval of the resolution allowing the extension of employee sick days for regular full-time employees with lab-confirmed cases of COVID-19 requiring isolation. And Board, this would be matching days. So once the employee uses so many days, these days would be matching for the employee only. You want me to read the resolution?
Yeah, please.
Whereas the Board is authorized by Texas Education Section, let me see if it's on my computer here. Whereas the Board is authorized by Texas Education Code Section 45.105 to expend funds of Alvin Independent School District for purposes necessary in the conduct of the public schools as determined by the Board. Whereas the Board acknowledges district employees may exhaust available state and local leave days. Whereas the Board finds that a need exists to address additional leave in the circumstance of COVID-19. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Alvin Independent School District authorizes providing matching paid leave up to 4 days for all regular full-time employees, contractual and non-contractual, salaried and non-salaried, who themselves are COVID positive and present documentation thereof. The authority granted by this resolution to provide matching paid leave for a maximum duration of 4 days. This matching leave expires at the end of 2021-2022 school year.
We have a motion to approve will be granted for requested resolution to extend the paid and unpaid leave options for employees.
So moved.
By trustee Tonini. Do we have a second? By trustee Johnson. Any questions or comments?
And this will be retroactive, starting
Yes, as long as the employee provides documentation of a positive
from the first.
from, yes, August going forward. Yes, great question.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have request to consider approval of employment of personnel.
Board, this is a continuation of teachers and other, you see an athletic trainer on there, openings that we have, school counselors. And so this is recommendations for contracts for these employees to be hired.
Do we have a motion and approval be granted for requested personnel items as presented?
So moved.
By trustee Tonini. Do we have a second? By
Second.
trustee Scheibel. Any questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And at this time, I will make a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
By trustee Scott. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.